At the end of a long day where the civilized world was striving to preserve the safety and integrity of Ukraine from further military aggression from Putin and his Russian thugs, I thought of a story from 1961 that I know you're going to enjoy, as it involves the Soviet Union and a possible story of a bomb in our nation's capital. In 1961, Russian President Nikita Khrushchev and American President John F. Kennedy held a summit meeting. After Kennedy returns to the United States, he heads to Florida to the Kennedy compound, and there's a dinner, a gathering of friends and people that make him feel comfortable. The food is served, and he starts to tell a story. Now, before I tell that story, let me say there is no understanding at all that Kennedy believed that what he was saying was true. 30 years after JFK's assassination, Hugh Sidney, the famed Time correspondent in the 1960s for the White House, will write about this story. There's no evidence to support that he thought the story had validity in 1961 when he heard about it, nor did he think, or do we know, or consider him to think it truth when he wrote about it in 30 years later after the assassination. But there we are in Kennedy's compound, dinner is served, and Kennedy starts to tell the story of bomb-making material that is being sent by diplomatic pouches from Moscow to our nation's capital, bit by bit, part by part, and it is being assembled. And as Kennedy says, at one point somebody could push a button and it could go boom. Obviously, that never happened, and there's no evidence that the bomb was ever being produced here in the United States. There's no evidence that Kennedy actually thought about it in terms of it being true. He obviously heard somebody talking about it and shared it with his dinner guest in Florida. And again, there's no evidence that Hugh Sidney ever believed in his lifetime that this was a true story. But it does have a particular interest as we are talking about historical trivia, about the then Soviet Union, the atrocities now that are being committed in Ukraine that we absolutely know about, that we see, that we witness, that we read about, and that we know must stop. The Americans must be forthright and stand hand in hand with our European allies and make sure that this aggression in Ukraine is stopped. It was a big day for Ukraine on the international stage. We almost stand with Ukraine in the days to come. Thanks for listening,